Hi, my name is Richard Day, and I'll be your instructor for SSE 873 this summer, a course on school safety evaluation. This online course was built by Dr. Scotty Dunlop, and you'll see that he has organized the material for this course, and I'll be facilitating our activities. I have had 25 years experience as a school principal. And so I'll be bringing that to bear and trying to help you really as much as anything think about how to be a school administrator and how to assess vulnerabilities and threats and opportunities that you may have to make sure that you're operating a school that is safe and free from any kind of undue hazards. My own experience as a school administrator began when I was 30 years old in 1981. And I was working for a tough old superintendent in Kenton County, Kentucky, named Bert Bennett. And I walked past his office one day, and Bert picked up a big roll of keys off of his desk, and he threw them to me. And I caught the keys, and he looked at me and said, "Get your ass over to Ryland and clean that place up." And that was how I was selected to be the principal of Ryland Elementary School in 1981. Well, suddenly I found myself in charge of a multi-million-dollar facility. And I was in charge not only of the educational program and making sure all the teachers were there and working the way they should, but also to make sure that the kids were safe and that there weren't any environmental hazards. And all of a sudden I had to start thinking very, very differently because I was going to be the person who was in charge of that experience. And it's not really until you're in charge that you fully appreciate the gravity of that. And I suppose that's why administrators make more money than teachers, because their responsibilities are that much greater. Well, each of you are studying school safety evaluation, and perhaps some of you will also become principals. Perhaps that's what you've got in mind. And when you do, you're going to find that one of the first things you have to do is understand the nature of the school that you're in charge of. You're going to have to assess that facility. You're going to have to be able to look around and assess strengths and weaknesses and vulnerabilities. If there are threats inside the building, you have to get those taken care of. And then what about threats that could impinge on the school from outside? That has been kind of a new thing. As a matter of fact, when I was a young principal, by this time in Fayette County or in Lexington at Cassidy Elementary School, we left our doors unlocked routinely. And one of the things that we'll start off reading about in our text today is about the events at Columbine High School, which really changed forever how it is American principals and school administrators think about safety in their schools. I never wanted to have the doors to my school locked. And the reason was really it had more to do with public relations than anything else, because in those days the only schools that were locking their doors were in really quite hazardous neighborhoods, usually in urban environments. And I did not want our suburban upscale elementary school to be thought in those terms. But I was wrong. And it was the parents of my elementary school that taught me that I was wrong. Because the thing that I thought would put them off and make them not want to choose our school actually became the thing that they expected to have in order to have some comfort about sending their children to our school. It was the parents that said, "We don't care if you lock the doors. We don't care if we have to go through a procedure to get into the building to be able to volunteer or do anything else that had to happen in the school. We want to make sure that our kids are safe first and foremost." And they taught me a valuable lesson that has stayed with me over the years. I really couldn't argue with them. They were right. As a principal or as a building manager in any kind of a facility, I would encourage you to think almost in military terms about having command and control in that space. If you're the person in charge of a school, you're the person that gets to kind of decide how things are arranged, what kinds of resources you need to make sure that the school remains in good shape. And so you need to be able to think about that, and don't think for a minute you're going to be able to do this on your own. You're going to have to be able to mobilize the people in your school building to be eyes and ears and look out for hazards and dangers and consult with you on that, and also to implement parts of the school safety plan. And so how we think about that is going to be much of my focus in working with you this summer in what is essentially Scotty's course. Now, Dr. Dunlop, Scotty, has put together he's edited a text that we will use for the course called A Handbook of School Safety. And I noticed, I've not read the whole text myself yet. I've read, a handful of chapters, and I've read a couple of the articles that we will be reading along with this for discussion boards in class. But as I've begun to read through the text, I've been pretty impressed, because one of the things that any good school administrator needs is access to authority, to people that can bring some expertise to issues that you may have to think about. And there's a nice assemblage of people who are contributing articles in our text. Of course, there's Scotty, there's Ryan Baggett, there's Sheila Presley, who is Associate Dean in our Health Sciences here at Eastern, Lynn McCoy-Samandel, who's a former colleague of mine in Fayette County Schools and who now works with the Kentucky Center on School Safety, also has contributed some information in our text on bullying. I've also consulted with John Akers, who is the director of the Kentucky Center on School Safety, to try to get a real clear idea of what sorts of resources we might have to draw upon if there are issues that are raised in the course. So I met with John, and I've got the Center for School Safety's Emergency Management Resource Guide, which we met on and discussed. I went through with him how it is that schools in the state of Kentucky manage their own facility evaluations these days. So suffice it to say that while Scotty has organized a fine course for you, I've also tried to bring myself up to speed on what's currently happening in Kentucky schools with regard to school safety evaluation. So let's work together. I know I'm going to learn some things as I continue to read through the course material and as we interact on certain topics. I look forward to working with you this summer. This will be an online environment. I'll tell you, I'm an old guy. So unlike you, I'm going to be in bed at 10 o'clock at night. I won't be responding to emails late in the evening. But I do tend to get up early, and I'll probably schedule morning hours to do most of my work in the course. But if you need something of a personal nature, send me an email. You can find all my contact information under the Faculty Info tab. If you've got a general question about the course, I hope you'll post that in the virtual office. And then I'll make a commitment that beginning on July 3rd, when the course begins, I'll be checking that virtual office daily and try to keep everybody up to speed on what's happening in the course. You may see something posted in the virtual office that you know the answer to. And if that's the case, please don't wait for me to answer one of your colleagues' questions. If you know the answer and you can direct them, please go ahead and do that. And that way we can kind of share answers with one another and be a little bit more efficient in the delivery of the course. Well, that's enough in terms of an introductory video. Let's just kind of focus this semester on challenging ourselves on how to think about school safety, and then drawing from the expertise that we will have to advise us in determining how it is that you should act in a particular situation in your school. Have a great summer.